Specialist. I'm sure most of you guys are familiar with me, and I'm just going to give an overall update of what's happening at the Department of Labor. And it's just not going to be only construction. I'll just focus on the other regulations as well. Much better. Thank you. Okay, so what's happening at the Department of Labor? I'm just indicating for the last year or so, right? So obviously 2021, important legislation was promulgated as well, like your ergonomics, your physical agents and so forth. But for the purpose of today and time, at the Department of Labor for the last year or so, the asbestos regulations was promulgated in 2020. So there were some notices issued after that promulgation in 2020. We issued these notices in 2022. Now, it's some of these important factors in these notices. You'll note that two important notices on the asbestos is on your OEL limits. Your OEL limit didn't indicate how long the measurement must be done to determine the accurate limit. So it's the amendment indicated over a continuous period of 4 hours. So guys, if you don't have these notices, please, events like this and seminars like this is meant for us to network together. I can email it to Dion or to Niels, or you can get it from Saiosh. These notices are really, really important. As you know, I'm from the construction sector, and without these amendment notices, it's difficult. I still get inquiries coming in and asking me, construction work permit still 13 million rand? Because that's what's in the regulation. But for the purpose of updating you guys today, you know it's 60 million rand, and that is because of the CIDB grading. So those are some of the things you guys need to be aware, and just keep up with what's happening in terms of amendment and notices as well. So the other notice on the asbestos regulation, which was 2022, was on your solar panels. There was a notice promulgated not to touch your solar panels on asbestos sheeting or asbestos roofs. It's a one-page notice. It's on our website. I think I did see it on Saiosh portal as well. And if you guys do not have it, I'll email it to Dion or to Niels as well. So 2022, other updates on legislation was our commercial diving regulation. Lots of changes there. If you are in this sector, please go through this regulation. Then we also promulgated a code, which was called the Inshore Code of Practice for Commercial Diving. Very thick code, comprehensive international code, promulgated in South Africa. Again, if you're in this sector, I advise you guys to go through that code as well. Another important legislation last year was the hazardous biological agents 2022. Why I say important, and I'm not going to dwell too much on this, is because this closes the chapter on the COVID and your state of disaster amendments, notices, anything attached to that. So guys, very important year. Anything to do with COVID, this is your reference now. And remember, we released your occupational health and safety, your OHS guideline. I released the construction sector guideline for COVID. All of those stuff is no longer applicable. Follow that, the hazardous biological agents. And that will be your way forward in terms of addressing COVID-related issues and any other pandemics as well. We try to address them there broadly. Another promulgation last year, 2022, was your National Code of Practice for Electrical Machinery in Hazardous Locations. That as well, you can Google that, or you can find that on our website. If you do not have it, I will make sure you guys get it through the structures in this workshop. 2023, what happened this year so far? We're only in June, but we did release a new regulation, major hazardous regulations. It's actually major hazardous installation regulations. We call them MHI. Guys, very important. Quantities are now prescribed. Previously, your 2003 MHI regulations didn't indicate that. It was more risk-based. So go through this regulation if you are in the industry where you guys are storing chemicals or hazardous substances that can be a threat to the society or community. There's also some specifications on your AIAs, There's very few MHI AIAs out there, so you guys will have to use that few out there in terms of your MHI risk assessment. Yeah, that is what was promulgated so far this year. So under review, when we say under review, obviously it means it's in the process of getting reviewed through a technical committee, and we are in the process of writing a new regulation. So where are we busy with now? It's your general machinery regulations. This is an old regulation, really old. So we have a TC, which we call a technical committee formed, and we are looking at amending that general machinery regulations. Now linked to that, but also a separate regulation, is your certificate of competency. You guys will know it's called GCC, your government certificate of competency. It's also linked to your GMR. Remember, if your company have a GMR 2.1, there's 4 criteria. Your last criteria is for a person who's got a GCC. Quite old regulations, quite old certificates and stuff. So we're updating that and how basically to revise in terms of keeping up with technology and so forth. So those 2 are under revision. Your explosive regulations, it's right at the tail end. We're open to publish this year, 2023, or early next year, 2024. Now, attached to the new explosive regulations, we're going to have a guideline. That guideline is going to be called your radio frequency guideline. Actually, this is what delayed that regulation. We were supposed to promulgate that regulation this year. And publishing these regulations, it's a tedious process. So ours got basically failed or stopped at our socio-economic impact assessment system. And we had to relook at that guideline, which we are busy with now. And it's submitted to the presidency again for review. Then it's the construction regulations. That's my one. And I'll just dwell on that a little bit just now. Then the Occupational Health and Safety Bill, which the Chief Inspector spoke about. We're currently busy with that. We're going through the comments. Remember, we have to comment on your comments, which is tedious, but we have to do it that way and publish it again as well. So, guys, basically that's what's happening in terms of OHS legislation. And my last slide is just to touch on my specific committee, the TC for construction. For those of you guys who's not aware how we form these TCs and who sits on these TCs, this is Construction Regulation 31. If you guys have your construction regulations in front of you, if you flip over to Regulation 31, it's prescribed how these TCs are formed. And if you look at my TC, I'm not going to go through everything. You guys can go through this in your own time. But just to answer the questions most of you guys usually ask me, who sits in this TC, how this TC is formed, and so forth. Yeah, it says the Chief Inspector must establish a Construction Health and Safety Committee, which must consist of A person who is to be a chairperson, B, a person from the Department of Labor, then C, you're looking at 2 persons, one from the Department of Public Works, or from CBE, which is your Council for Built Environment. And remember, that's where your SACP CMP falls under that council, your CBE, and then the Construction Industry Board and so forth. So guys, go through this. This is how the TC is formed. I am the chairperson for the Construction Technical Committee for TC, and we are busy reviewing the regulation. So I'm open to get a Construction Regulation 2025. Critical changes, I know your 8.1, your construction manager, lots of questions around that, whether he should be registered as a construction manager with SACP CMP, whether he's a construction health and safety manager, or whether he's just a construction manager. Those are some of the things that we're trying to address. So guys, what I want you to understand as well, especially for conferences and seminars like this, whatever your guys have in terms of opinions or inputs or suggestions, it will come to us through these structures. It will come through me via Neil or via Dion, and please use those structures. It does come to us and give us suggestions and give us inputs. Like if you're looking at this TC here, we do have a member from MBA, Mr. Neil Ensland from the KZN office. He's sitting on that TC. So whatever your input your guys give to Dion, obviously it's coming to us as well. So guys, that's the update from the Department of Labor. We will be here to obviously and answer some questions or during tea time to address your guys as well. Thank you.
Thanks.